Fantastic. Good evening, everybody. We're live, and you should be able to hear me okay. This is Simon Campbell from Round the Clock Trader, the IX Investor Show, as well as the other project that I do. And I'm joined by my good friend Charlie Burton from charlieburtontrading.com. And I think most of you here, I recognize quite a lot of the names already registered for the webinar. So a lot of you will already be familiar with Charlie because we've worked together for many years doing shows and seminars and live trading webinars. And I'm really pleased that he's here tonight. With the main reason for us putting on this little event was just for us to find out the progress that Charlie's been making in a challenge that he set himself. He's been doing these challenges now for many years. Even the BBC got involved and followed him doing I think a challenge back in 2016 and 17.
14,
made a documentary about it as well, which was fantastic. So the most recent challenge that Charlie set himself, and he does these things completely transparently. So we'll see that tonight when we go through. He's going to show you the trades that he's been taking and how the portfolio is performing. The aim was to build a $10,000 account into a $70,000 account. And it's well over 200%. I can tell you that now, but we'll look at exactly how he's done that as we go on. But it's just good to see you all here. So thank you for joining us. As I said in the chat box, we'll try and keep it to around about sort of 30 minutes, half an hour. So I know we've all got things to do this evening, but it's great for you to spare the time. We do want to answer any questions that you've got as well, because not only are we here to look at the challenge, but we're coming off what was, an exciting week last week, wasn't it, Charlie, for the markets?
Yeah.
A lot's been
exhausted.
going on. Yeah, so some people are spinning, other people are scratching their heads, wondering what to do. So let's use this time that we've got with Charlie. If there's any burning questions that you've got, any ideas for trades or strategies, please share them with the group. We'd be delighted to have that sort of engagement. Could I just ask you, first of all, before we go over to Charlie, is everybody hearing and seeing us okay? Just use use the chat box just to put a little yes, okay, or something, just so that we know that you can hear us. I think all the systems are good, but it's always just good to get a thing. Great, Peter, thank you very much indeed. Great, okay, so let's get started. Charlie, where's the best place for us to start? I think most people here, but know of you, but just to let me expand a little bit, you've been trading over 20 years now. I think I'm right in saying a self-taught trader really would be the best description to start. Became full-time after only a few years.
Really, yeah.
And then before you know it, I guess people were starting to ask you to help them trade as well, which gave birth to your former company, Easy Trader, which was all about training and mentoring, and now charlieburtontrading.com, which is a live community where you host live events every single day. So really, you've gone on from that. I know there's a fund and there's various other parts to the business, but you still sit on a daily basis and trade the markets, and this is what, yeah, you are. And I think this is what people like. This is what they gravitate towards you, because you are just what you say you are. You sit and you do the trades, and that's what we're all trying to do. So maybe just to start off, why is it that you do these trading challenges? Because this is the third challenge that you've done, and you run them for different areas of time. It's a very brave thing to do, because you don't know what the markets are going to be doing. You're setting yourself a goal for the future, but
well, you can also set yourself up for failure.
that's the brave thing, isn't it? Which nobody likes to have their failed trades made public. But I guess this is all part of trading, is getting yourself used to the idea of losing. Is that something I've heard a lot of times before?
Yeah, it's why do I do it? I think I hit a personal milestone in my trading by about 2013, and once I'd hit that personal milestone, I wasn't striving in the same way to keep accelerating my account actually, I was decelerating my account growth on my personal account, and because I didn't need to keep pushing in the same way. I lost the desire, should I say, maybe, to keep pushing. It's a weird thing. You think that you're going to carry on trading and trying to maximize your gains year after year,
Yeah.
and then for some people, like I did, I got to an account balance where I felt like, do you know what? I don't need to keep pushing in the same way anymore. I'm actually going to reduce my risk per trade. So,
Mhm.
which was good, and I could still make good returns, but not, I wasn't looking for the same sort of percentage returns anymore, as once upon a time. And so these challenges put me back into the sort of shoes of a lot of my customers. A lot of people who start out trading start out with smaller capital, and so I wanted to be able to see. That was the original challenge, the 10 into 100, was to see if I could put myself back to that person who's got $10,000 in a trade, or £8,000 in a trading account, and see what I could do with it, because I hadn't traded with that size of capital for a long time. So that's how it all sort of started. But the main thing, I think, for me is I just wanted to. I've always felt that if I'm going to teach my members how to trade, then I should be putting my neck on the line as well and doing something which is, as you said, transparent or whatever. And for people who are out there keeping an eye on what I do and stuff, and that transparency, as you said, is what was important to me. So by doing a challenge and say, right, I'm going to do a challenge, it's a bit different doing it that way round rather than secretly doing a challenge and then saying, da-da, because you haven't got the pressure then. So I put myself under pressure to say, right, I'm going to do this and let's see how it goes. And I think it helps people with their own beliefs. One of the biggest things in trading is belief within the mindset. And if I can help just one or two people, or hopefully a few more, with their own beliefs by seeing me doing the sort of challenges I do, then I'm doing my job, and it gives me satisfaction from that as well.
It's fantastic. I- In terms of starting with a $10,000 account, because the starting capital is a big issue for many traders. And of course, you'd already been trading up. You had a fairly sizable account that you would have been trading. Did it change the way you managed the 10,000? Because did that smaller starting pot change the way you trade, or did you more or less use the same strategies that you would do, but just on a smaller scale?
Yeah, it's a good point. One thing that I do when I'm trading is I'm building a position with lots of small positions, and when you're trading on a much larger account, that's a lot easier than when you're on a small account. So that
Yeah.
was one thing. The strategies themselves, my general approach to the market was no different, but certainly I did find that I couldn't. Balance myself around a position in quite the same way, because if you imagine, for example, let's say on a large account I want to put a point 0.1 of 1% risk on. That's still actually a decent sized trade.
Yeah.
On a small account like 10,000, 0.1 of 1% at risk is only risking £10. And so therefore the upside potential on £10, a £10 trade is less. So yeah, little things like that I noticed.
That's
But
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
the mindset was interesting for me, because I had to be aggressive on it. That was the whole point. So I had to put a different cap on whenever I was trading the challenge account, because I needed to make those greater um, percentage returns, really.
Yeah, interesting. Uh, what kind of markets are we talking about? I mean, I know we're going to have a look at the reports,
Mm.
but in terms of what markets do you start off on? Is there a market that was better suited to a smaller $10,000 starting account? What would you recommend for other people maybe that are thinking that they've got about $10,000 and would like to sort of copy what you've done? Is there markets and timeframes that you would guide people towards looking in the first instance?
I don't think necessarily timeframes particularly, because I think you need to trade to your own strengths, and so and we all have our own preferences. So, um, but but certainly from a market's perspective, I've always been a believer in focus. So I tend to just trade the major currency pairs and a bit of the US indices here and there as well, and and sometimes gold and sometimes oil, but predominantly the currency pairs. Very, very, as we all know, low fees, low swap fees if you're holding them in the main if you're trading majors, and that low charges. So that is a factor as well. So I don't even trade crosses that much. So that would be the only thing. But I'm not anti-trading the crosses because plenty of my members do. But you ask me what I do, and that tends to be it. So I'm trading euro dollar, I'm trading dollar yen, I'm trading pound dollar. Anything against the dollar really is what I'm generally trading.
And what about last week? Did you foresee any of the crash in the pound coming, or were you on the right side of that, or do
Well,
you hand off?
it's a good question because it comes back to what I was just saying about that focus. So I was already short euro dollar because I was looking for euro dollar to come down to 0.96 with my members, and so I was already positioned and had built a position in the euro. So I won't, I'd be over, gearing myself up too much if I then go and start jumping into cable as well. So I was already in euro, but certainly some of my traders were in cable. But for me, if I get into a position, then I start building it and building it as it goes in my favor. I don't like to then get too rich. I was making more than enough on those trades anyway on the euro because the euro was coming down as well, and the Nasdaq. So yeah, it was just a crazy time. I was shattered. I got to Friday, Rach and I do find this within trading. Bearing in mind, I'm trading 6 different accounts. I'm doing trading sessions, every day of the week with my members, plus everything else that I have to do in amongst all of that. And I got to Friday and we were going away and to the Cotswolds for the weekend. And I just said to my wife, I said, I was driving and we had to pull over because I was so tired at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday that I said, oh, can you drive? So I do find it is something that can happen. The old brain, when you're spinning a lot of plates and you're making lots of decisions, it will tire it out.
Burn out with the adrenaline. Great. Well, listen, we're getting into sort of 12, 13 minutes. Shall we take this as an opportunity? If anybody's got any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them into the chat box. But what we'll do now is we'll turn over to Charlie so we can start having a look at the screens, and Charlie will talk us through what he's been doing with the challenge account and show us the progress. Now, to do that, Charlie, you need to hover the mouse in your own webcam space up at the top. You should see a share screen. That's it. Yeah.
Share the event. Share to Facebook. No, we don't want to do that.
No, you're in the wrong bit. If you just bring your
I see now.
It's like a little laptop with an arrow on it. Your screen. Peter's asking, what are the crosses that you refer to when you talk about the crosses in trading?
The crosses are. Can you see my screen, by the way?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
So the crosses are the major currency pairs, but crosses. So they're not against the dollar like euro dollar, but a cross would be something like euro pound or euro yen or euro Aussie. That would be what we call a cross pair.
Something that's not
against the dollar.
To the dollar, which is the reserve. Yeah.
So it's funny actually, Simon, you said about when the BBC filmed, I just thought, do you know what? This is the same desk that was here when they came in my office in 2014, 8 years ago to film. Nothing's changed actually. I really should do a refurb.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even
I think the walls have been painted, but yeah, I'm one of these people. I just don't change stuff until I have to, and then it'll all get changed.
Room, isn't it? That's where the money's
right, so I've got a few. I printed off this a number of portfolio reports up here. I gave an update to my members last week on this, so this is all as of the end of September. And so this is the total return since I started the trading challenge in 2020, and we've already, Simon and I, we've done updates only just a few months ago, so I'm not going to go all the way back because we've done that on previous webinars, which I'm sure you've got recordings of. But this shows the total return. So as you can see, I went almost immediately into drawdown when I started in 2020, but then thereafter the P&L has stayed positive throughout all of that. And so as of last week, was at 280%. Now, my goal for this challenge was to get to 70,000. Has he got the figures here? If I go up, as of last week, it was at 72,954 at that point when I downloaded this, and I think you'll also see some figures here. There's been no deposits or transfers over that time. This is from the 9th of June 2020 to the 28th. This is that I must have taken this, or must have been a bit before the 9th of June when I started, because as you can see at this point, it's in drawdown at 19,000. But the P&L over the period has been 53,878. Giving as of last week 72,954. It's actually gone up a little bit more since then, but I'm staying with this report because this is the one I pulled off just last week for my members.
Very good.
So
Well done.
that's the overall. What I wanted to show was just a few things. I want to show my trades for this year because it's important, because then I can show the main trading areas where I've made money this year and why. So which I think that's what's always important. People come along and they want to understand a little bit of how do you go about doing it, and so that's what I want to show. So the portfolio report for this year, I pulled up this part of it. So this is just literally from January of this year to, there you go, up until the 20. Well, this was taken on the 29th, but it only gives you the previous day when you pull it off, up to the previous date. So and what I wanted to make very clear is that this is the reality of trading. There's not some smooth equity curve that just goes left to right in a move like that. Now and again, I will get those sorts of equity curve, but as you can see that it spikes around. The equity goes up, pulls back a bit, then jumps up, goes sideways for a bit, dips back up, goes to new equity highs, dips, goes back up to new equity highs again, flat, new equity highs, dip, new equity highs. And this is more likely the reality of trading for many traders. So it certainly is for me, with the style of trading that I do these days, which is predominantly swing trading. And because also I'm looking to hold on to my trades when I do get into a winning trade. So what that results in, it does result in these sort of spikes, and because this is based on account equity, so this is all the equity through all of this is the equity itself, not closed trades. So there will be points where I might have been in open positions, and then those open positions just came back and stopped me out. So and that's the thing, when you're holding on to trades for longer periods where you're trying to run them more, then there are going to be, within your winners, there's going to be plenty that run for a little bit and then reverse back over. So that's why I wanted to show this chart, because it really gives you an imprint of the equity curve in general, because of the style of trading I'm doing. But importantly, that style, and I think it's on this report, it must be, has, yeah, so it's up 84% for the year thus far, up until last week. So how did I go about and doing it? What I'm going to do is just take us all the way to the bottom. And again, I know we did something similar like this before, Simon. I'm not going to take too long. I'm just going to whiz up a little bit. Hopefully people can see the figures in the right-hand column. This is the booked profits and losses in this column here. All the other stuff is just trade information, the dates that were traded, the amount, the position size. 50,000 is in currency terms half a lot. For those of you only know in lot terms, that's what 50,000 is. So in the main, what you'll see is lots and lots of losing trades. And if I scroll up, plenty of losing trades, then you get the odd bigger winning trades. And so in the main, on average, you'll see my winning trades tend to work out on average bigger than my losing trades. So plenty of losers, and then you get the occasional bigger winner here. But really, there were four. I'm actually going to go to a chart and come back to this. I've got a chart of the euro dollar because I've been
Does
trading
this
the euro
mean
dollar almost solely this year. So when we go back to those trades booked, you'll see it. I caught this run down here, or part of that down into early March. I'll see that show you that in a minute. I must have caught this here in April, and then again a little bit here in May. Nothing for all of this, losers and all of that, and then caught this run down here into July. And these are the predominant times where I made more money. And then again from this in this last leg down here in the euro as well. So it's actually, when you look across the year, I've made the bulk of my gains. There's little winners and in between, but the big gains have come. One, two. Even that one wasn't too big, but 3, 4. There's been 4 key periods for me this year that have been responsible for the bulk of my gains, because that's what I'm ultimately looking for. I'm looking for those trades which end up giving those bigger runs, and so where I can add to the position and get those bigger gains from. So let me just if I can bring the trades executed back up now. So what I'm looking for now, the dates here. So I'll carry on scrolling up, and I know I haven't got too long. I know we want to take questions as well. But so lots of losers all the way through this, plenty of losers, the occasional larger winner, and then boom, that early March where I just showed, I was obviously sitting in these trades and then started cashing out through this whole period. Well, look, I cashed out, it looks like everything between the 4th of March here and the 8th of March. Looks like all of these were getting cashed out during that period. And that period, again, if I just bring the chart back up, right down here, is it going to let me click on this? Yeah, the 8th of March was the day, this green day here. So I didn't catch the absolute low. It was that day after that I said, right, okay, that's, for whatever reason at the time, that's enough. We're closing out. So if I now go back to this again, and then we carry on, there was also a little cluster into April, but plenty of losers all the way through here. And this is my point. I get in lots of trades which do end up just losing. All I really care about is the next big winning trade, which I know will come along, but I have to hold on to those. And so I have to put
does
up
this
with a
mean
lot of my trades, get into some half decent profits, but then roll over. So there was another little cluster of gains there in April. And then really not a lot. I don't think there was, I think I said there was a little bit after that, cluster of gains here in early May. That little, if I bring the chart up again, just briefly. So again, you can see the April, that was late April. So that was that run here. And then that 12th of May, you can see that was again, it was right on that low there. So I probably had this trend line on by then. So that was where I exited there on that 12th of May there. And then the next real gains weren't until July. I had plenty of losers through that period from this period here into May until July. So, I mean, there's little winners because not every trade is going to be a loser, but a lot of losers through all of here, with a few, average winners, really until we got to, there it is this July? Yeah, 8th of July. And then I had a whole cluster of gains coming through, well, between the 5th to the 8th. I was obviously, again, I like to edge out of my trades.
what kind of stop loss, Charlie, do you set for these trades?
Oops, let's bring the chart up so that I can answer that. A lot of the time this year, as the volatilities increase, my stops have been a lot higher. So at the moment, a lot of my stops are easily over 100 pips. A lot of them are sort of 110, 120 pips. Some are like 150 even. if I can get away with it, if I can get an 80 pip stop, then that's great. Because if I can have an 80 pip stop and then make 400 pips, then that's sort of my ideal. But as volatility's increased in the last few weeks, it's difficult to get a trade on with an 80 pip stop. Having said that, I did get long down here after this key reversal day with my members just last week, and I think we've got an 88 pip stop on that. So that does mean the risk reward, if it goes up to our target, becomes that bit better. So they're not huge stops, but they have to be if I'm swing trading. They're this year, between 80 and 120 pips a lot of the trades. If I just bring up so we can, where's it gone? There it is. And then really from that was into July, and then there wasn't a lot. Just again, plenty of losers, a few winners again that come in until we're getting into August now. Not a lot going on. Losing through August, bit choppy or whatever. It wasn't suiting me. I've got some wins there in early September, but I really like to make the point that I do have a lot of losers because I'm not trying to. I don't move my stops up to break even too soon. And I just let them, a lot of the time, I will let them roll over against me. So I can be in some winners only to see them end up losing. But it tends to work. Oh, yeah. And there we go. So right away up till into September, where we've got a big cluster of winners coming through here, right away into the latter part of September, whereby right away up till the 28th even, where I was closing out. So if I bring up that chart, this was this run down here with my members down here. So and I think I had some NASDAQ trades as well. But so what I'm trying to do, with my trading is it's not about necessarily catching the trends, although of course this year has had a large number of trends. I have in fact traded on the long side through this period here and through this period here, only for the markets to end up rolling back over against me. Through this period here, I was actually in a really nice winning position I'd built up. And then, of course, when it rolled over here, I was actually getting on the plane on this day to go to the States, Simon, for our summer holiday. And I think it was ECB day. And the market popped up as I was getting on the plane. I thought, that's good. And then by the time we'd taken off and I'd connected onto the Wi-Fi system, all my positions had started coming back down and then I got stopped out. So I am trading on both sides of the market. I'm not going to sit here and say that, I'm only trading with the trend. It's easier once you get further through the trend to obviously to know that. But there's always points where you think you can identify a potential breakout, a potential larger retracement. And the same over here as well. So I'm a trader. I'm going to trade. I'm going to trade on both sides of the market. As one famous trader says, you've got to trade like a gorilla. Be prepared to trade on all sides. And but in the main, yes, my overall analysis has been bearish for the euro. That's been my primary view. And so when the markets would start to roll over, then that's why I generally will catch these moves. I have techniques to get me in when the markets do roll over. So for me, it's the analysis first and foremost, the top-down approach going out to higher time frames, and then drilling down to the smaller time frames to then execute off of those. So it all comes from analysis first and foremost. But there is an element of sentiment, of course, as well. I am want to see not just about what retail traders are doing or even the hedge funds, but just generally speaking, there was a great, talking of sentiment, Simon, there was a great, I've got it here. I just took this clipping earlier on. This is what I love. This is the epitome of market sentiment, that you've got this Bloomberg article that just came out this week, on just 2 days ago. Can't stop, won't stop. The dollar, the pound, the euro. The Fed has turned the dollar into a wrecking ball, and there's no end in sight to this carnage. I love seeing this sort of stuff because this is sentiment at its absolute heightened itself, So I love tapping into market sentiment, what's going on out there, and when the market participants are getting highly emotional, including journalists, that's when we want to be taking note. So there's a lot to it, but that's essentially what I'm trying to do. I am trying to get into
That
trades and run them.
we've had some traders, some guest speakers on and do analysis. Some some they choose to ignore the wider world, the news and sentiment, like you say, and purely just say, "Oh, put my faith in the charts, 100%." But
Yeah.
I think your approach is much better. You need to look and get an idea of what the wider trends are going to be, because they do affect you can see quite clearly here in this chart. The trend has been downwards, and you've just caught these bits where it's tried to get back up and then fallen over, but generally you can see it within these channels. One of the things I wanted to ask, I know Michael's asked a question as well, but it sounds as if when we talk about win-loss ratios, traders tend to sort of like to brag sometimes about their win-loss ratios.
Mm.
In your case, you would argue that it's actually irrelevant, really, because
Yeah.
what's important is the profit.
Exactly. Profitability is what's important, not win rate. Unfortunately, most people, because we're human beings, I would have been like it in my early years. When we get into trading, we want to be right as much as we can, because that's how we're brought up through life, going to
Yeah.
school, university, at work. And it's in our DNA to want to be proven right. And but really we need to let go of those chains and embrace being wrong, because if you can do that, then you can be far more profitable. I have strategies which have if you program them with a higher win rate, they make less money than when you have them programmed when they're looking for bigger returns,
Right.
and a lower win rate. So win rate is,
£10,
if anything, I
£10
brag
is a
about
win,
losing a lot.
but £10 is a win. But what good does that do you exactly?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Michael's asked a question. He says, "Hello, Charlie. Your losses are variable in size. Are you using one lot size only?"
Let me bring the losses vary in size, because let me bring the thing back up. So if because they're going to vary in size as the account changes in value. So as the count grows, then obviously the losses change. But you've got to also factor in that there will be trades that I put on which might be smaller. I do actually vary my position size as well. Within this challenge, I've given myself a remit to trade anywhere up to 2% at risk per trade. So you're not going to see every loss being statically, £100, £100, £100, because some of them I might have moved my stop and then it moves over. I do move them at some point. So some become just trailing stops, but a lot of the trades that I put on are varying risk. So I'm, depending on my view to the market, I very often will edge into a trade initially and then build it if it starts moving in my favor. So I'm not going all in straight away. So I'm putting my risk on in clips, so to speak. Hence why you're always going to see different size losses, and they're never going to be the same. But of course, they're always going to vary as the account changes value. But I mean, that one's 180,000. That one was a 30,000 position size on that one, so it was obviously a smaller position size there than this one. But of course, at this point, my maximum risk at this point was £1,200. So I'm varying my risk that I'm actually putting in. I'm not at full risk on every single trade. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Looking to the future, if my maths is correct, an account that's 72,000 worth into target was 70,000, you're done. You've completed. Take VG, or do you then set yourself another goal, another milestone?
Yeah, I have. And so when I when I went through this with my members last week, um, I like doing these. I stopped for about a year and didn't do it, and I felt a little bit hollow not having a challenge to do. I felt a bit worthless, really. So I've realised that I do quite like doing them. So the next goal is going to be to see if I can turn it into 100. So from here, so that is the next goal going forward. So yeah, going to carry on with it and see if I can get it up to that big magic number again. And so doesn't look like I'll beat that original one from 2014. How I got that to 100 within, I think that was 2 years, 8 months. So I don't think I'll be quite doing that because I don't trade as aggressively even now. But we'll see how we get on over the next year.
Very good. And in between time, you're not putting your feet up, because we know that you're at the desk every day, trading with your community at Charlie Burton Trading. We've just got a few minutes. I've posted a link there, and the people in the email, some people weren't aware of this, that we work together so often that you've given me the ability to offer my members around the Cop Trader 30-day access at the gold level membership, which is basically everything that you offer. It's almost a sort of access all areas membership for 30 days, and you're getting access to these different channels, the different live trading. I think there's 2 live trading sessions a day. Am I right?
No, it can be anything up to 4 or 5 some days. Yeah.
Stand corrected. And this is working really well. I know we started doing this offer, I think just in June or July this year, and I know that lots of people have already gone through and they'll be very happy they did, and they're on the system. So can you just explain again, a bit better than I have, what people would do if they use, there's a link, and while you're speaking, I'll repost it in the chat box. But just what can they expect to get? Where will we take them? You're trading on your own at the moment. If you started to come into the rooms with Charlie Burton Trading, what would be the biggest plus point for them?
Well, it's that sense of community, I guess, because I've got people who have been trading from less than a year to traders who have been trading longer than I have, 30 years plus. I've got a veteran bond trader. I've got two fund managers, plus myself as a fund manager as well, who are members within our community as well. So it's a broad community of traders, and some of my senior traders, like those, do run some sessions for me as well. So there is that sense that although I do the predominantly most of the training sessions and trading sessions every week, I have about 4 or 5 of my senior members will across the month do a few sessions as well. So it's a lovely community. I think one thing that frightens people is they think, oh, well, I can't be in a live trading room because I've got a full-time job. 70 to 80% of my members have full-time jobs or are located around the world. I've got people in West Coast America. They can't be here logging in the morning in the UK morning. And likewise, I've got about 18 members down in Australia. So they can't be there later in the day. So every trading session is recorded, so people can go in and access all the recordings at their own leisure and catch up. I have an app as well, so any trades that I take, I always put onto the app, so people get push notifications coming through on that as well. So they don't have to be there. I've got lots of people, like I said, who have full-time jobs. They haven't got the time to be in every trading session. Might be a couple of evening sessions they might want to attend, or catch up on some recordings. People can get as much or as little out of it. All I'm doing is we're there. We are there every single day or 5 days a week in that trading room, and people can pick and choose which sessions they want to come into. For a lot of my full-time traders, obviously they're there every single day listening along. But and for a lot of them, they're experienced people in there with 15 years plus of experience. They have me on, I think, like the radio some of the time. They just like to have listening in, seeing what I'm saying, and seeing if it's congruent with how they're looking at the markets. And so it's a real sense of community. So it's a real learning environment. So for anyone who's has only been trading for maybe a year or less than a year, or maybe a bit more, all my strategies are in there as well. And what you're learning is you're seeing a professional trader day in, day out, as I'm watching, analyzing the markets and executing. I was executing earlier on today. So they're seeing my trade management, everything about it. So that then people can then take all of that and learn from that and then apply it for themselves, and they can copy along and follow along my trades, but they can also start to use that in their own trading as well.
Everything you need. Everything you need. No, fantastic, Charlie. We've kept you longer than we said we would already. So if there's no more questions, we'll wrap it up there. Again, this has been recorded as well. So if you want to go back and watch it, we can do this, and we'll send this out to the wider list as we go. But for the moment, thank you very much indeed. Well done on breaking the target, and we look forward to monitoring the progress as you head towards the next milestone. I'm sure you'll.
Well, let's hope we don't go backwards anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, great to see you. We'll see each other in London next Thursday for that seminar as well, which will be good. If there's anybody in London, Charlie and I will both be at the Fineco Hub near Liverpool Street Thursday afternoon. There'll be details. I can email them to you if you want to sign up for that. Come and see us. It'd be super to see you. Thanks very much indeed, and we'll see you again next time. Charlie Burton of charlieburtontrading.com. Thank you and good night.